Hello and welcome to another opportunity to attract the life of your dreams, to manifest what you truly want, and to reach a higher level of consciousness. And speaking of reaching a higher level of consciousness, today I want to share my experience from the Dr. Joe Dispenza week-long advanced retreat in London. Just yesterday was the last day of this week-long advanced retreat, and I will probably every now and then during the next couple of episodes share some things and some ideas and some new concepts and revelations that I learned during this experience. But today I just want to share a few points with you that were truly interesting for me, that were life-changing for me, and that in my opinion can also help you a lot. At least I hope they will help you a lot. So I just want to share what happened, what I discovered, and what I'm now thinking about after this retreat. And I've already published an episode about a year ago when I went to the week-long advanced retreat, which was my very first Dr. Joe Dispenza week-long advanced retreat in Antalya, Turkey. But now I went to England, I went to the lovely UK, and I will stop now with the UK accent, but anyway, I went to the UK, to London for the week-long advanced retreat, and I love London. I actually lived there in the past during my study times. I did my master's in London, and it felt really good to be back there. And of course, it felt really good to be at this event. And the first message that I received at this event, it was really interesting, because the last time there was still some trauma healing going on and I was crying a lot. I think I talked about this experience where my twin brother was coming down to me and we were discussing everything, and I was crying and crying and crying because my twin brother died during birth, or let's say right after birth. And I then healed this trauma during the last Dr. Joe Dispenza event. That was the completion of this trauma healing process. So the last year, it was very emotional for me, a lot of crying, a lot of mystical experiences. And this time, it was less crying, but more creation. And that was also the first message that I got, because during the first couple of meditations, I thought to myself, there's not so much crying going on. I mean, was it better the last time? Am I doing something wrong? And then the analytical mind came in again. And then I got this incredible message of your trauma healing is completed. You can just focus on creation. And that's when the magic then started to happen. Once I said, okay, I'm not gonna analytically focus anymore on, am I crying less than last year? Am I doing something wrong? But I'm just in the process, and I say, okay, right now my trauma healing is completed. I'm happy about that. Let's create some magic. That's when the magic started. And speaking of magic, in this part of the meditation, let's say it was the day 1 and day 2, I had this logical, analytical thought of, yes, the trauma healing is completed. Or, I don't even know if it was analytical or if it was some voice, if it was the divine. It wasn't connected to an emotional release, let's say it like this. But I thought to myself, okay, trauma healing completed, I'm happy, let's create. But now is where it gets crazy. Or let's say it gets crazy again. I mean, nowadays for me all that stuff is normal, but if you would tell that to somebody on the street, they would look at me, go, okay, I'm gonna call the guys with the white coats, and then you go to that place and everything will be okay. But it really happened. So we did this pineal gland meditation. And the pineal gland meditation at the week-long advanced retreat is about 4 hours long. However, I didn't do the whole 4 hours, but there's a reason for it. No, I didn't just drink a coffee. However, I had a very, very intense experience. Dr. Joe Dispenza is teaching a certain breath where you put your energy in your body and you then get it all the way down to the brain, like that spinal fluid, how he calls it, cerebral spinal fluid, I think. And you then hit your brain, or let's say your pineal gland, just like a radio receiver. And I did the breath. I thought, am I doing it wrong? Can I do it? Is it something that I'm doing right or not? I was totally in my head until this point. It was really crazy. I don't know why, but well, everything happens for a reason. Maybe it had to be like that. And then there was the part where we blessed the energy centers and we were then laying down. And I was laying down, and I kid you not, I was just completely pissed. I don't know why, but I was pissed and I was like, I'm tired. Why am I here? This is a waste of money. And it was so interesting for me because if you listen to the experience, I think I shared it in the last experience report, or let's say last episode that I did from the last Joe Dispenza event, that my twin brother came down to me the last time when I was really pissed and I was like, meh, and then it hit me. So maybe I thought, in this moment, or let's say I thought after this experience, maybe that's some kind of brotherly joke that whenever I'm in this mood, then he comes down to me. I don't know. Anyway, so I was lying there on the floor and suddenly my elbows were shaking. And in this moment, of course, I had this idea of like, is this happening to me because the room is cold, because I'm tired? What's going on here? Or am I doing this on purpose? Like, I was completely confused because I had never experienced anything like that before. A woman who I became friends with at the last Dr. Joe Dispenza event, she had some crazy shaking experience where she was shaking all the time, even while we were then having dinner. And she was just shaking and shaking. And I thought to myself, how is that possible? I never had anything like that. I had the crying, I had the mystical experience with my twin brother, but I never had any shaking. So this time I was just shaking. And I was shaking and shaking and shaking. And then suddenly the shaking got more and more and more. And, oh yeah, that's actually a funny coincidence. I hope I'm not all over the place. I mean, I slept my 8 hours. I then eventually woke up at 11 a.m. today, so bear with me here. It might be all over the place, but I hope you will gain some value from it. Anyway, what did I want to say? Oh God, I really hope you gain some value from it. So I was on the floor, shaking. And then was this moment where everybody was sitting up again because they were doing the breath again, and Joe Dispenza was screaming in the microphone like, and pull all the air out, breathe, and in, and I was lying on the floor and I could not get up. I just couldn't get up. I was looking at all of them from the floor, and I was looking at one woman who I became friends there, and I mean, she had her blindfold on, so she didn't see me, and I was lying there on the floor, and I was like, what is going on? And I was just shaking. I didn't really feel anything. There was no mystical experience yet. And then one of the meditation helpers came to me, and she was like with her body language asking if everything is okay. I was continue to shake, and then I was crying a little bit. And while I was shaking, I then made the thumbs up symbol for her so that she knew I'm okay. I didn't need any help. And that's where the magic really started. And then I felt this presence of my twin brother again. And I was then pushed to the side. I mean, it wasn't some aggressive pushing, but I was gently pushed, guided to the side. And I still can't wrap my head around. I still can't figure out if I was moving my body to the side or if my body was moved to the side. And now that I'm talking about this to you, I actually get goosebumps. It's, I don't know. I mean, really, I just have to say right now, I don't know. I'm at a loss of words. I don't know what happened, to be honest. And I was then lying on the side, and then my arm fell down, or you can say, how do I say that the right way? My arm just, opened up. I opened up my hand. I reached out with my arm. Again, I don't know if I did it. And I then felt this presence of my twin brother so intensely. And I then, in my mind, repeated his name over and over and over and over again. His name is Patrick. And I always said like, Patrick. Of course, I said it with a German pronunciation, but yeah, anyway. So I said Patrick, which is a German pronunciation. And I then felt, and that was the first time I really felt it, the trauma healing is completed. It's all good. And I was crying, and oh, Jesus Christ. Even now that I'm talking to you, I'm getting emotional. So I was just crying. And at some point, I was then from this experience so exhausted. They were still in the meditation. I was on the floor. I was so exhausted that I almost crawled out, and one of the meditation helpers was helping me up. And I was then going out. I couldn't finish the meditation. I shouldn't say this. Let's say maybe. I'm not sure, but maybe if I had continued the meditation, there would have been even more mystical experiences, even deeper. I don't know. Again, I have to say, I don't know. I'm saying the I don't know in the similar way as Joe Dispenza says it with, I'm making stuff up here. I don't know. But I just went out. And the crazy thing was when I went out, I looked at the watch. And the watch said 6:30, and we started the meditation at 4 a.m. It was 2.5 hours, and I kid you not, it felt like 5 minutes. I had completely lost any track of time and space and reality, anything. It was just crazy. And now let's continue with the craziness. There was one guy, and I hope I get that right. I might get it wrong from the diagnosis, but he had MS, a guy from India, and he was, I think, walking in a wheelchair and on crutches, and he then had, during the walking meditation and during the coherence healings, we did a lot of coherence healings, which I do almost every day. I'm in one of the coherence healings groups from Joe Dispenza, and I love to do that. It's just incredibly fulfilling to heal other people. I mean, that's why I'm so passionate about doing this here. That's why I'm so passionate about the hypnosis sessions and the coaching sessions that I offer. And by the way, if you want to have a look at the different coaching sessions I offer and also the hypnosis, then you can go to affirmationtomanifestation.com/coaching or click on the second link in the description. And this guy with MS, or I think it was MS, it was some kind of muscle dystrophia where you lose the muscles. And he was sharing how he was walking, how he was running, and it was just so emotional. Like almost everyone in the room, or at least a lot of people were crying. I was crying. And then during one of the walking meditations, there was this one guy who was running like crazy and screaming in happiness, and a volunteer, like one of the guys who are, they are at the event to help people with crutches and in wheelchairs, during the walking meditation, was running after him. He couldn't keep up with his pace. And I assume, I'm almost 100% certain, that this guy was before in crutches or in a wheelchair, because otherwise there wouldn't have been one of the volunteers running after him. Because all the people who can work without any limitations, they don't have anyone who's following them. So there must have been something going on. He was No, he was not walking. He was running. He was running faster than anyone else. And I thought to myself, holy moly, moly, moly. But it gets even crazier. On the last day, I've experienced the most intense, beautiful coherence healing that I've ever experienced. And like I just mentioned, I am in one of the approved coherence healing groups. I do that almost every day, and it's almost always intense, it's always intense basically. But this time, I did it the first time in person, because the last time during the event in Antalya in Turkey, they didn't do it. They did it remotely, but this time they did it in person, and oh my God. So we were in these healing cages of 8 people, and there was this woman lying in front of us, and we were walking in, we were doing all the meditation process. I don't want to share any details about the meditation process, because I don't even know if I'm allowed to share everything with you according to Joe Dispenza. And you have to have that experience for yourself. I just want to briefly talk about the experience, how it was for me. And I'm not affiliated with Joe Dispenza. I just want to really bring that across. I don't gain any monetary value or anything from recommending these things or from recommending his meditations or his retreats. It just helped me a lot on my spiritual journey, and it's an experience that you will never, ever forget. So we were walking into the room, we were doing the coherence healing meditation, and we were then sitting down and directing our hands towards the healee. And we, as the healers, I was one of the healers, we were then directing our love energy, healing energy towards them. And this one woman in the group was shaking like crazy. And I sometimes opened my eyes because I was so curious, which of course you shouldn't do it, but hey, I did it. And I opened my eyes because I was so curious. She was shaking so much that one of the meditation assistants, who also wanted to help me when I was shaking, was holding her. And I thought to myself, like, hey, why is she shaking? And then the analytical mind came in again, and then suddenly I started to shake, and I was like, oh, okay, what's going on now? And then I was shaking. And then the most intense thing ever happened. The healee on the ground was shaking so much and flopping around like a fish out of water that I had to pull my chair back because her hands were always bumping on my feet and my chair, and I was afraid that I would break her hand. It was so out of control. She was crying and shaking and crying and shaking, and everyone in the group was shaking. And then my heart opened in a way that I had previously only experienced when my twin brother came down to me and we had this experience, this conversation, and I was just crying and crying. My heart was, I don't even know how to describe it. It was blooming. It was open. It was vibrating. I felt this intense feeling of love. And it was just so intense. And after the coherence healing meditation, everybody was hugging each other. We were like, oh, that was so amazing. The healee was holding us. It was just so beautiful. And yes, I know I've been all over the place today, but hey, the event just ended yesterday. I had a flight, I had a long train ride, so yeah, I hope you forgive me for that, but I just wanted to share that with you. I thought I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to share my experiences with you when it's still fresh and when I still am in this emotional state, when I still have the pictures really vividly from the event. So yes, it was an incredible experience. That's all I wanted to share with you. And of course, I mean, if you want to find out more about me, about coaching with me, I already mentioned, you can go to affirmationtomanifestation.com/coaching. I also have 2 programs. One of them is the Money Manifestation Magnet program, which is a 6-week guided meditation program in which I show you, or let's say I guide you to a state where you can become a vibrational match to money and then attract money into your physical reality. And you can find out more about that by going to affirmationtomanifestation.com/money. In fact, I'm so all over the place that I forgot if I had just mentioned this link before or not, but anyway, I don't know. So, and you can also find out more about my 11 Days to Manifestation Mastery program if you click on the first link in the description, or you go to affirmationtomanifestation.com/11days. So yes, that was my experience at the week-long advanced retreat from Dr. Joe Dispenza in London. And if you enjoyed watching this video, please send out some love to the YouTube universe by giving this video a big thumbs up. And I would also appreciate it if you would leave a comment in the comment section below and let me know what you think about my video. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and to click on the notification bell so that you get notified whenever I release a new video for you.